YouTube. It's been a minute, not really, maybe a week or so. Back in a similar stomping ground. It's a rainy day, but been driving around just looking for something to fucking try to enjoy. Um, Local areas, as well as I try to find cheap flights to drive around other towns and experience at least when I go out and travel to the other areas near me. I rarely actually do touristy things, and I just drive around mostly like not so much the actual cities, but more like like the suburb areas, and like look at like, oh, that used to be a busy mall. Oh, that used to be the Pizza Hut, because you can tell by the roof of the building. And you kind of it's kind of funny, you see just the monoculture that really is really just everywhere you go now. Like I love when people think that like traveling to it, like you meet a lot of people who love traveling, and unless you leave the country, which I'm in the United States, and Canada probably is still unique, different enough, but unless you leave the country, you really don't see this massive uniqueness in this country anymore. I mean, you go to any major city, almost all the major cities are near like a body of water for obvious reasons. There's the Chipotle, there's the Target, there's the whatever, apartment complex, the what is it called, like the 4/1 buildings, the ones that are like four four apartments, and then on the bottom part there's like a whatever, like a sandwich shop of some sort, or like your like a nail salon or whatever. Anyway, I wanted to make this video about basically why I think the future, and trying to be just to find any sort of smidgen of optimism in the future. Um, Basically, I think that the immediate future looks bleak as fuck. Um, One, you have just such a divide amongst people, and I preferred Kamala. I am in the sphere of, I only have like 10 subscribers, and I don't know who watches my videos, to be honest, but I would describe myself as a left-leaning. I don't know if I'd say I'm angry enough to be called an incel, but I am lonely. I wish I had a girlfriend. Um, I am in my, officially, I would say I'm pretty much mid-30s now. And it sucks, it sucks because, by now, I mean, people talk about, sometimes in these online dating spheres, and I would argue this is very, in the in the subculture of the dating game, when with the angry males, there's a lot of just people who think if you were stupid enough to vote for Trump thinking he was going to like cause women to want to date you or something, you're fucking stupid as shit. You voted in somebody who's going to ruin your life even more. And by the way, I feel vindicated knowing that Donald Trump is all over the Epstein files, which, I knew 10 years ago or 7 years ago or whatever. But for some reason, people still want to they just can't vote for a woman, and it's like, you would have been better off under Kamala. And then, of course, you all have people who like, well, Kamala was bad for Gaza. Okay, but like, you don't live in Gaza, and you should care about that shit too. But like, if that's your priority one, you're some degree privileged, I would argue. But you should care about it. I don't want to see the Palestinian people killed, and I think the Israeli government is corrupt. And I also think Epstein was a Mossad agent. Well, how it all links together, Again, don't blame Jewish people or people who practice the faith. I don't have any problem with Jewish people. I have a problem with the Israeli government, and maybe a select amount of inner circle people who are government adjacent. But the immediate future looks bleak, and most of it is Donald Trump's fault, and MAGA in general. There's a lot of people, whether it's older boomer fucks who just can't age gracefully. By the way, that's pretty. Donald Trump, I think, embodies that. I think RFK Jr. embodies that. Have you seen those like love letters that RFK Jr. wrote to Olivia Nuzzi, who, by the way, is younger than me, I think, by a little bit, by a year or two? Um, She, I think, was born in the mid-90s, and somebody like RFK Jr., who's born in like the early 50s, is writing love letters to this chick. Bro, like, I should be dating Olivia Nuzzi or some other random loser like myself. And that's the thing that I just can't stand about these younger men who thought Trump was like cool. If you were lucky enough to get a girl, Trump would, and Trump knew her or wanted to, you'd have to give her up in tribute to that guy. Trump's all about himself and himself only. And anybody saying otherwise is so brain dead, thinking that Trump's going to make your life better. Now, I'm not going to say Kamala's great, but she wouldn't have been this fucking ridiculous. It's only a matter of time. I mean, all the Bitcoin bros aren't really yapping anymore about their investments and thinking they're all super smart with their crypto money. I hope you sold. If you had any Bitcoin, I hope you sold it, because Bitcoin basically follows the stock market now. When the stock market goes down, Bitcoin goes down. But I thought Bitcoin was this underground thing, right? It's not. It's a bunch of corporate elites control Bitcoin. Stop acting like you're this underground secret society because you have 0.12 Bitcoin or some shit. You fucking idiots. Again, the real underground society is, and I'm contributing more and more to not being part of it, but the real underground society is people who don't fucking spend much time on the internet. That's really underground society. The less internet you have in your life, the better. I never made an Instagram. I never made a TikTok. I did have a Facebook account because everybody had one back when I was in like high school, but I haven't logged in probably 10 years, and I think I've deactivated it. But that doesn't mean shit, because Mark Zuckerberg probably still keeps all of our data. I'm sure he does. I had to make a Twitter account because one of my college professors was literally posting assignments through his Twitter feed, and I do believe that this was like kind of around the time Twitter was IPO or early stages of for-profit publicly traded. And I do believe he probably had money in Twitter and wanted everybody to sign up just so he could make a little, thinking that that's going to cause more people to, the stock to go up or some stupid shit. So the immediate future looks bleak as fuck. Everything, the job world sucks ass. The federal government is a combination of bought out by Vladimir Putin and, Benjamin Netanyahu in Israel. There's a secret, not so secret anymore, but a pretty high up cabal of billionaires who will never be held accountable for anything. But if you do one little thing wrong, apparently you get shot 10 times in the back like Alex Peretti. And, I think that fuck ICE. It's not cool. I know back in the day that fucking idiot Paul Joseph Watson made the conservatism is the new counterculture. Nah, it's not, dude. You had a brief window maybe in like 2011, 2012, like peak Obama love. Maybe. You could say there was like a little bit of like, oh, it's counterculture. But honestly, by 2016, Trump won in 2016. By then, you're mainstream. And I've said that a few times already, that conservatism has not been the counterculture for over a decade now. I made, I think, a prior video about that. I don't know what to do about the immediate future. I just recently watched a video by that guy Deconstructing Narcissism. And I used to think he was like a very right-wing guy, and so I didn't like some of his videos on that. Because I really just think that the biggest problem is just the billionaire class that's a secret society that's not just the amount of wealth they have, but literally the rules don't apply to them at all. They could kill somebody and just get away with it. Like, Trump was right when he said I could kill somebody on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. These people do not care about you. They're never held accountable for anything. Have you ever noticed that, like, none of these, like, ultra wealthy people ever get really, like, stripped of anything? Like, you could go bankrupt and, nobody would have a problem watching you go bankrupt and lose all your money for something even petty and worthless. They'd be like, hey, man, capitalism, bro. But, like, once you reach a certain level of wealth, you actually get socialism. You get the socialism. And it's really fucking ridiculous how people still think that, like, these ultra wealthy people care about you and they're your fucking friends. Whether it's a mega celebrity, whether it's a mega musician at the Grammys, yeah, okay, some of that shit was cringe. I agree. Maybe the way that Billie Eilish said it was kind of cringy, but like, I don't really think she's really a big part of the problem. But you know what? Maybe she's people are jealous of her wealth, and people are jealous of the fact that she has music that people listen to. But really, it's not even them. It's not even people like that. It's a very small amount of people who are really ruining your life, and Donald Trump is one of them. And I would argue Bill and Hillary weren't, Biden wasn't, Kamala wasn't, Obama wasn't. It's basically people like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and a handful of other very wealthy people who are now controlling all of these mediums, but they meme post on Twitter. That's edgy, dude. This shit's not edgy anymore. Okay, Nick Fuentes says edgy shit and he's a Nazi. Wow, dude. Like, okay, how's that like edgy anymore? Like, this is like all over the news. Everyone's desensitized to this crap. So eventually you have to start just acknowledge that they're not counterculture. They're not edgy. They're just, okay, what's your point? Like, what do you care? You say you don't like, people because they're immigrants. Oh no. Wow, I haven't heard that take before, you edgelord. Most immigrants aren't your fucking problem. Most of them are pretty cool people if you just give people a chance. But anyway, yeah, the immediate future looks bleak. Then there's also when it comes to the economy, the economy only exists because of if people are pursuing any sort of goal in life. And more people have no goals. Their goals are just, come home, watch TV, go on the internet, consume top text, bottom text memes. Nothing of substance, And to be fair, I don't have a ton of goals myself. Most of my goals, I do work out a fair bit. And I do have some individual goals in that way, but I also have some education goals. I thought about maybe going back to school, but I don't care enough to do so right now. I also don't want to take out a fuck ton of debt because I don't really have much money. But I just think that basically the main issue is just, the economy exists. It's not in this, like, the concept of an economy is not this thing in the sky, right? Economics are basically, do people pursue their dreams? Because you pursuing your dream will cause you to get an education. It'll cause you to buy go to Home Depot and buy something to build something with. It'll cause you to learn something new. It'll cause you to buy somebody's services. It'll, etc. So, I am a left-leaning guy. I know talking about birth rates, there is issues with that too, where, we are now 18 years from the financial collapse of 07, 08, 09. We are about 18 years from that at this point, and what you're kind of seeing is, birth rates have plummeted, and I do wonder about economics in an era of not a lot of young people, right? And the young people that do exist increasingly are not pairing up, and they're not, it makes me sad when I see some 18, 19, 20-year-old, and I can just tell it's like they don't have many friends. They don't have a girlfriend or boyfriend. It's like, these are things that you should be, you don't have to always be dating, but you should, be giving it a shot. So, I do have concerns with that. I am a left-leaning guy who has concerns about the falling birth rates. We're not talking like, some people will talk about overpopulation, and, you could argue maybe we are overpopulated, but the solution to that, I don't think, is birth rates that are 1.3 for the next foreseeable future. I think it's like, okay, we dip like 1.8 for a generation, and then we go back up to something reasonable like 2 or something like that. But these are kind of death sentences for where I'm at. America's pretty bad, but it's all over Europe. It's all over, South Korea and Japan. I'm pretty sure China as well. And so, yeah, I do have, as a left-leaning guy who wants some change, and I want to tax the billionaire class more, and I want more, a single-payer health care, I think would be a good start. I still also concern about people not pairing up, because I think that is also important to keeping a stable society. But The immediate future just looks bleak as fuck. I really don't know how to get out of this situation. I'm afraid that I could wake up tomorrow and my job's gone. Not even necessarily because of my performance. I actually had a pretty good performance review recently. I think it's more so because I just don't see the just the level of just uncertainty of how shitty things are right now. And I think a lot of that's caused by the rhetoric of Trump. So the immediate future looks bleak, and these ultra wealthy people, they're all building their bunkers. They're all destroying the environment. They're all destroying your economic future. And for some reason, they just no one ever get. Now, once you reach a certain number, you don't get held accountable. You can do whatever the fuck you want, apparently. Well, the American people deserve better. Way better. I hope anybody who listens to this, if you want to give, don't dox yourself. I don't want to know where you live. I want you to have a good life. I want you to have a better life than me even. I don't care about me that much anymore. But I want you to at least, if you could post a comment with some level of reasons to be optimistic about the future. I'd like to hear why you are. I might not agree with your optimism or reason for optimism, especially if your reason for optimism is, I don't like people of a different race than me, and so, well, guess what? Those people actually fuel the economy too. So you should want immigrants to be doing their thing, and you should try to be, get to know them. Obviously, there can be language barriers, and that sucks, but the goal should be to try to meet as many people as you can. Whether it's for friendship, whether it's for dating. I'm a white guy, I'd date a black or Hispanic chick. I mean, I'll admit I don't really like the big booty craze, but the big booty craze is not just like black women. I mean, I actually see more white women trying to do that shit, honestly. And at the gym I work out at, like, every girl, they spend all day on like the hip thrust machine. It's like, we get it, you do the hip thrusts. It's one of the few exercises women can do to men's level or something. And I do wonder how much of that is like, women's egos or whatever, because men and women both have them. But I hope anybody who watches this has some level of optimism, and I hope there's a lot of people who are who have more money and a booger in their left nostril than you're ever going to see in your fucking life, who are never going to be held accountable for anything. Just my thoughts, and I'm out.